What up, everybody, and welcome back to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades. Today's blade, we're going to do a zero tolerance. We're going to talk about the zero tolerance 0220 Anso flipper. Look at that. This is a simple but beautiful design. And part of the beauty is in its simplicity. Part of the beauty is in its functionality, its utility, its ergonomics. Overall, I have been very impressed with this design from Anso, who is a custom maker out of Denmark. This young Danish man, we're going to set this down here and talk for just a second. Anso has, man, he's been around, for such a young guy, he's been around for so long. He is so well established in the custom knife world. Now, I looked into a little bit of his history because I don't claim to know everything about the guy. But he started as a young man in 1988 making knives. I believe the first knife that he made, he said he had an old file. He had a drill press, a rock, and a fish. And he made a knife out of it. Okay, I threw in the rock and the fish part. But I believe what he said he had was an old file and a drill press. And that's where he started. So for those of you out there that have an interest in making knives, you don't have to have a bunch of fancy equipment to get started doing it. Just a love of knives and a drive to try it. So Anso started as a young man in 1988. By 2001, he was a full-time maker, and he has been a full-time maker since 2001. His product is very, very popular. To me, his design language is, I wouldn't say bare bones, and I wouldn't say basic. He brings the beauty of simplicity to his designs, and I've heard that he can be inspired by something from nature, from Japanese carpentry, from just forms that are just beautiful in their simplicity, and you see that in his designs. Now, this is as produced by Zero Tolerance. It's a licensed product with Zero Tolerance, which is a branch of Kai Cutlery. Kai Cutlery has Kershaw and Zero Tolerance and Shun kitchen knives. And Zero Tolerance is their higher-end American-made product. This knife you will find in the $200 to $230 price point. Generally on the net. I think on the secondary market, depending on condition, you're looking in the $150 to $170 price range for a very good specimen. All right, let's talk about some specs on this and get the numbers out of the way. The blade length is 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters. Blade stock thickness, 155 thousandths of an inch, or 3.95 millimeters, so 4 millimeter stock basically. The blade width is 1.14 inches, or 29.2 millimeters. The handle length, right at 5 inches, or 12.5 centimeters. The handle thickness is 506 thousandths, or 12.87 millimeters. The handle width at the widest point up here at the pivot is 1.31 inches or 33.3 millimeters. The closed width, and I measured it at the widest part of the handle, 1.47 inches or 37.4 millimeters. Overall length, 8.5 inches or 21.5 centimeters. The stop pin diameter is 125 thousandths of an inch. That's 1/8 of an inch or 3.2 millimeters. Behind the edge thickness on the blade, I hit it in 4 different spots up the grind, and I averaged out about 23 thousandths of an inch. The weight on this, it's a fairly hefty 6.17 ounces or 175 grams. And then the blade to handle ratio is 0.7. All right, and 0.7 is, it's pretty decent. You're at a 3.5-inch blade to 5-inch handle ratio. It feels good and it looks good. Now, we'll go straight into materials on this. The blade is in S35 VN, and that is a Crucible, a American-made steel from Crucible Steels. It is a particle metallurgy steel. It is a upgraded version of S30V, and it's a cool little thing, the S30V to S35VN story. S30V was really the first modern stainless steel. It was developed exclusively or for knife blades. It's extremely popular. It has been popular for a couple of decades now, really. S35 was just an upgraded version. They changed the alloying a little bit on it and refined it a little bit better machinability, a little bit better finishability. It will take a little higher polish than S30 will. It is a tougher steel, meaning that it will flex without breaking, cracking, chipping, so you have less of edge chipping than you might have with S30V, which can have some issues with edge chipping depending on how the primary and edge grinds are and the heat treat is. Now, initially, S35 was reputed it was going to be more wear resistant, but in the field, the initial makers, custom makers, and manufacturers saw that it was slightly less wear resistant than S30V. So if you want a tougher blade that's a little more impact resistant, then S35 is good. If you want a more wear resistant blade that may hold an edge slightly better on abrasive materials, then S30V is better. This steel has a carbon content of 1.34%, a chromium content of 14%, and it is a vanadium and niobium alloyed steel, and those are carbide adders. When you have a high carbon steel, the free roaming carbon that is left over after hardening combines with vanadium and niobium to form carbides, and those are extremely hard particles suspended in the matrix of the steel. Typically, you will see steels that are alloyed at a high carbon level with vanadium and niobium. They are going to be very toothy cutters. They also tend to not like an extremely thin edge because the carbides need a little bit of an edge there to support. Typically what you'll see is recommended would be 15 degrees per side minimum. That's 30 degrees inclusive for an edge grind. Now, then we'll go on to the handle here, of course. These are big, huge, thick slabs of 6Al 4V titanium, which is common with zero tolerance in most high-end production frame lock folders. The backspacer is in an orange anodized aluminum. It is hard coat anodized aluminum. Your hardware in a black finish is all in stainless. Again, you've got a stainless black finished deep carry pocket clip. The knife does feature a hardened steel lock face and over travel insert. And, well, that's about it on materials, guys. You know what? This knife is very interesting to me. And the reason is I'm not a huge fan of recurve blades. It's just a personal thing. It doesn't mean recurve blades are good or bad or anything, and nobody should really care what I think about recurve blades. They have their place in everything. I'm just not a personal fan. But I really like this knife, and the reason I do is this recurve blade profile is wonderful. One of the things I've always admired about Anso's designs, the profiles of his blades are I don't know, there's just something that's right about the dimensions and the profile of his blades. It's like he's taken something natural from nature and he's designed this blade to mimic it, and it really works. It's a beautiful, beautiful blade profile. Of course, in a recurve design, you've got this sweet spot here in the recurve that is just a fantastic working surface and working area, mechanically efficient as far as cutting. This blade features a high flat grind, a fairly thin edge at 23 thousandths. It is finished in a stone wash. It's a beautiful stone wash finish. Zero Tolerance is very good with their stone wash. You have a flat spine, and the grinds are even on it. The edge grind is even on it. The blade has a good working tip. You can see there it easily catches and pierces. Just overall a stellar design and production by Zero Tolerance, designed by Jens Anso, but production by Zero Tolerance, who we've come to expect high-end production from. I'm just really, overall, just really, really happy with this, except for one thing, and you can see right here. We do have a sort of a sharpening. It's not really a sharpening choil, because it does not come up above the edge. It also does not extend out beyond the plunge grind. That is the only knock that I'm going to give this blade. I would have liked to have seen this line here come up above the edge grind and extend another 1/16 of an inch out beyond the plunge. You can see it is not beyond the plunge here. You still have that thick plunge section. So, as you can see from the factory, they did not sharpen all the way back to the plunge, and you will not be able to without excessive edge flare at this end. And there's really no way to fix that, rather, other than grinding up. Say you can see my fingernail there coming up above that edge grind. So you've got to take that into account on that blade, guys. For those that are looking for something with a sharpening choil, you're not going to get it in this design. Now into the handle. The handle design is fabulous. It looks sort of blocky. It's big slabs of thick titanium that are not weight relieved. Hence the over 6 ounce weight on this. But as blocky, as angular, you've got these, sort of angular type of design here. It really, guys, it's very organic in the hand. You see, you do have a finger choil here. You do have a slight recess for your other fingers. This butt end, it gives you sort of a, a long flat bird's beak here. You do have the drop in the butt end at the top side of the handle, which makes it ergonomic because your hand is not straight. It is curved the way that things fit in it. It does fit very organically. I do like the design of the handle. It is not chamfered, but it is sort of faceted around the edge. Both sides of this facet, the top edge and this side right here, are broken. The inside of the handle, you can see there is a slight chamfering on that on both sides. There's not any sharp edges. The finishing is smooth. It is in a fine, soft feeling bead blast with sheen. It's not a dull bead blast at all, guys. It does have a sheen to it. You can see the light reflecting off of it. It does give you that sort of soft, silky feel of bead blast, but without the dull look. Now, a lot of people do or do not like this badge insert here. You know what? As long as I don't see this across every Zero Tolerance knife, I don't mind it. It's a little bit of a pop of color here without it going to the now almost common sort of anodized pivot collar. that you see a lot anymore for a pop of color with plain titanium. It is sort of an enameled badge. I do not know how it is affixed. If you look to the inside of the handle, there is no physical fastener like screws or anything, so I'm going to assume that it is epoxied in. I don't like that aspect of it. That badge could fall out if it is epoxied, but I do not know that it is. It could be affixed in some other form that I'm not seeing. And this is a loaner knife, another one from Love Them Knives. Check out his channel, Love Them Knives, LTK. Thank you, buddy. So I'm not going to take this thing apart and start, tearing into seeing how this badge is affixed, but I believe it is epoxied. You do see that this side is, while not busy, if you look at the handle straight from the side here, you do have a rather large sort of stylized pivot here that's in the black. You've got the black hardware against the silver of the titanium, the blue, and then you get this flash of the orange from the backspacer that's this raised integral section for the lanyard point. Now, one more thing that I personally don't care for on this knife is this backspacer. I like the look of it in the orange. I like the shape of it. I like this sort of raised section, even though you can slightly feel it. I do not think it would hot spot. You can slightly feel it, but I do like that look. What I do not like is the use of aluminum with a hard coat anodization. It will show wear fairly quickly. If you carry this knife in a pocket with anything other that is metal, keys or anything, it will start wearing this anodization off very quickly around the edges, and it will show wear. But this is a very popular knife, and I have seen replacement backspacers on the secondary market from custom makers. Just today I saw one of these on a Facebook page with an orange G10 backspacer that was a 1-to-1 of the factory backspacer, so it mimicked everything about it except an orange G10. And again, I like the orange. I don't have any issue with that. And the G10 would not wear and show the raw aluminum through the anodization when it wore. All right. Other than that, it's very solid. You see that it extends all the way around the butt end. It gives the knife a very solid, I feel like with this I could use it as an impact device for less lethal sort of impact or in a utilitarian way. Although you don't really have a flat surface back here, you do have this sort of peaked surface. So it may affect if you needed to hammer something with it. As an impact device, very good, guys. I think it would be very effective. On to the back side. Standard, zero tolerance, frame lock build. One other thing you want to take into account, look at this hardware, guys. That is a screw that is all the way through and then screwed into the titanium on this side. There is no steel receiver on this side, guys. Keep that in mind. It should not affect how durable the knife is if it's used as a folder and you don't try to use it as a fixed blade. But if you like to disassemble and reassemble, be careful of the threading in the titanium, because titanium cannot be hardened as hard as steel, and you can strip out threading on titanium if you're not careful. You've got the zero tolerance fold over clip design. I love this clip. I love everything about it. I love everything about this clip. I like it on every model that zero tolerance uses it on. It is deep carry. You can see you're only going to have about 1/8 of an inch of this handle that is going to stick up beyond the pocket clip. You've got plenty of space between the body of the pocket clip and the handle for thicker pocket material. So if you're wearing jeans rather than casual, say slacks or something, maybe you've got jeans on, or maybe you've got some reinforced pocket, tactical pants on, cargos, whatever, plenty of room in there. Your clamp surface right here is a good size of clamp surface to hold, but not so much that it's got too much hold on your pocket material. The tension in the steel is just perfect. The tip of it is high enough to ramp over your pocket material, but it is flattened, so it's not sticking up and going to dig into your hand. You can feel the tip of the pocket clip. On some people, it might be a hot spot under hard or extended use, but for me, it's okay, and I love that pocket clip design. Some people do not like the big zero tolerance badge on it, but I got to tell you, these are $200 knives, guys. And if somebody sees this pocket clip on your pocket, they're going to know you've got a $200 knife, and there is a little bit of street cred in that with the average person, if they even know what zero tolerance is. Some people say they don't want to advertise for knives, but that's just part of it, guys. You don't go and buy a Ford, Chevy, Toyota, Nissan, Mazda and it not have the brand name of the car on it. You don't go and buy food without a brand name. You don't buy a TV without a brand name. So I think really that's just a personal thing and not much of an issue. The lock bar tension on it is, it's moderate. It's no big issue there. The cutout is shaped well. You do see that you've got good access to the lock bar. It is chamfered here. It does have a facet cut into it, so it is very comfortable, very easy to get to. You can see the lockup on this knife is early. It is pretty early on this. I would say 20% on this example, and very solid under a hard grip. Let's see how much that moves. Yeah, not very much at all, guys. Maybe about 5%. You might be at 30% right there. The action on it, it's it's zero tolerance, and it's on the KVT system, and it's smooth, guys. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's pretty decent action. The centering, absolutely perfect. The detent is very crisp. It does have a crisp feel to it. I'm going to say it is a medium to medium hard detent. Plenty of stored energy to rocket that blade out once you break out of that detent. The flipper tab is well designed. It does have jimping on the front that is usable jimping. It's not coarse or rough in any way, but it is usable and it does work. And speaking of jimping, another thing I would like to see changed on this knife would be in this short flack section before the drop in the blade, I would like to see some jimping. That's just a personal thing. I like to have a little bit of jimping there. But, I mean, just overall, guys, it's you know what? These little things that I personally don't like are not quality issues. They're not really design issues. They're just personal preferences. And unless I design the knife, it's very seldom I'm going to find a knife that is 100% designed to my personal preferences. That doesn't make the knife good or bad. It just makes it different. It just makes it different, and I can't say anything bad about it. The action, fantastic, guys. Very satisfying flipper, very satisfying closing it, very crisp, very active, plenty of horsepower there. You know what? Overall, guys, I'm very positive about this design. I love the look of the blade. This, long, the drop on the drop point starts right here. You've got this short section of flat. You go straight into the drop. It is not an absolute flat. You know what? This could be called a clip. It may be considered a clip point. But it's very long. There is no swedge here. Then you've got a nicely sharp point and nice belly here. Go into a slight, not overpronounced recurve, a slight recurve. It's just a very, very good design in the blade. It's a very good design in the handle. It's comfortable. In a reverse grip, it's comfortable. You know, it's let's say in a draw grip. Okay, there is a little intrusion from the flipper tab into the webbing of my hand here between my thumb and first finger. But I don't think that it's bad enough that I can't overcome it with just a slight relocation of my hand. They're just a slight modification of grip, and recurve blades are very good in a draw cut. You can focus a lot of cutting energy into this section of that blade design. I think it would work very well for that. Let's see, guys. Yeah, build quality is great. The action is great. The design is beautiful and simple. There's not anything on it that's wacky or is really going to interfere in the use of the knife. Apart from just some personal preferences of things that I would like to see or wouldn't like to see, I have zero issues with this. From a quality standpoint, it is spot on, zero tolerance build, no issues there at all, guys. I can recommend this knife. If the things that I pointed out I don't personally like, you do like, this is going to be right up your alley. I'm not joking, guys. It is a very high quality build, a very attractive design, very good action, just very well done from Zero Tolerance. And of course, Zero Tolerance. And pause and read your information that I should have shown you at the beginning of the video, but I didn't because I was excited to talk about this thing. It's, you know what, I like it, guys. And I'm going to stop right there. I like it. I recommend it. I think the price is fair on it. The build quality is fantastic. Action is fantastic. It's a beautiful and simple design. And there is beauty in that simplicity. All right, guys. Once again, I say thank you for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you the next time.